You're listening to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, the go-to podcast for high performers. I'm Andrew Moses. Each week, you'll hear my thought-provoking conversations with Olympians, pro athletes, CEOs, elite coaches, best-selling authors, and other high performers to uncover their secrets to success. Get ready to be inspired each week when we talk about leadership, teamwork, work ethic, and more. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. This week, my guest is Olympic swimmer Regan Smith. Regan is just 20 years old and one of the best swimmers in the world. At age 17, she shattered the world record in women's 200-meter backstroke, a record that still stands today. Regan is fresh off winning 3 Olympic medals at the 2020 Tokyo Games, where she won 2 silver medals and 1 bronze. Last month, Regan announced her decision to leave Stanford University after just 1 year and officially turned pro. She is now training for the 2024 Paris Olympics under coach Bob Bowman, who is famous for coaching swimming icon Michael Phelps to record-setting success. In our conversation, you'll hear Regan's thought process behind her difficult decision to leave Stanford. She had dreamed of going to Stanford for many years, but shortly after arriving, realized that a different environment would align better with her training approach and vision for her future. Regan discussed how she's learned to trust her instincts, know when to pivot, and the power of self-belief. She calls herself a work in progress, and you'll hear all about the techniques and mindsets Regan uses to continuously improve in a sport where literally every millisecond counts. Regan's wisdom is well beyond her years, and our conversation is filled with lessons that you can apply to anything. Most importantly, Regan's story is a great reminder that the time is always right to bet on yourself and go for the gold. So, let's pull the tarp and get straight to Regan Smith. Our conversation is coming on the heels of some really big news in your career. You've left Stanford. You're going to turn pro. I want to know what went into that decision. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really, really tough decision. I've wanted to go to Stanford since I was 10 years old. So I spent half my life dreaming of attending that school. And I was really, really looking forward to going there and attending there. And I had a really great first year. But what it boiled down to for me was that the training that I grew up with here in Minnesota was just very different than the training that I got at Stanford. And that doesn't mean it was bad. It was just different than, what I found had worked for me for most of my career. And so then it was really difficult to, willingly put my hands and put myself into a very different training environment. It was really hard to stay strong mentally that way, feel confident in my swimming. And, again, it was crummy because I wanted Stanford to work out so badly, but I just knew in my heart that I wanted a program that had a philosophy more closely aligned with what my club coach here in Minnesota had for me. And I think that's just when I feel my most confident. That's when I feel the fastest, the most prepared for my races. So that's honestly what it boiled down to. And I can't say enough good things about Stanford. I love the team so much. I love the coaches. The pool was beautiful. It was a beautiful place to be. And again, it's such a bummer because I wanted to go there for so long. But yeah, ultimately, I really wanted to do what was best for my swimming and my career.
Regan, I'm curious, as someone who's not an expert on swimming, and for those listening, what are some examples of some of the differences that you experienced at Stanford in that program versus what you were more comfortable with? Give me an example or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just want to preface with something different could work for a million different swimmers. No one's going to want to do the exact same thing, and different training styles will work for different swimmers. And it's all, just about what I'm comfortable with. And so for me, with my club coach, what I found worked really well was really kind of just hammering down on training for weeks to months at a time. We didn't really get a lot of breaks, didn't get a lot of rest days. We did very high intensity, pretty good yardage. So I was in very good aerobic and endurance shape. And that's just really when I thrived. I would love looking at a set and being like, oh my goodness, this is so difficult. I don't know if I can do this. And then, pushing my body really hard and proving to myself that I could do it, even though it was, extremely difficult, very long, very aerobically, really aerobically intense and difficult to get through. I just loved the feeling of I did that. I completed that. It really helps boost my game and boost my confidence mentally. And then when I get to a meet, it just feels like second nature to me because I did all of the hard work in training every single day for weeks and months and years. And then it just kind of feels like, all right, this is the easy part. Racing is just 1 or 2 minutes at a time. And I've been used to doing 2.5 hours, just go, 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 go. And again, that's something that works for me. It's something that definitely doesn't work for everyone. Some people, find that their bodies need more rest and a little bit less intensity, and that's how they find that they can beat their fastest. But for me, it's what I grew up with. It's what I learned to do from a very young age, and I love it. And I missed it a lot this year.
So I'm curious, how did you go through that? Like, did you always feel really comfortable with what you knew worked well for you? Or was it something that throughout the course of your career you had to figure out?
I would say definitely the latter. It's definitely something that you have to figure out as you go through your career. And for a really long time, I was always the kind of swimmer who would be like, I'm just going to let my coach take the reins. I'm going to do whatever they give me. And like whatever they give me is going to work for me. And that had been the case because I had spent 6 years with my club coach. And then going to college, I was doing the same thing. I was, giving up the reins. I was like, I'm just going to do whatever it is that I'm given. And I was really excited about that because, as I said, I love and respect the Stanford coaches so very much and have a really great relationship with them. And, I was just realizing when I was doing that training, it just wasn't making me personally feel, as good mentally. And then that's when I learned a little bit like, oh, so then maybe this is what makes me tick. This is what makes me work, a different type of training. So it was a very kind of enlightening time in my life where I realized what really like specifically makes my swimming work its best. Because before I just was kind of like, well, I think whatever, I get works pretty well for me. But so it was kind of nice to realize that specific training styles really kind of help me more than maybe other specific training styles do.
It's so great, Regan, that you were able to identify that and lean into that at really such a young age too, in terms of where you are in your career. Managing up and leading up is such a huge topic, these days in leadership, right? Like traditionally, leadership and coaching were looked at as these things where everything was pushed down, and now everybody has a voice in the process, or at least there's more light on the fact that everybody should have a voice, and different styles don't always work for everybody, and everybody has to once in a while raise their hand and say, this is what is going to work for me. So let's talk about moving forward. You're going to be teaming up with the legendary Bob Bowman, who many know worked for many years with Michael Phelps and so many other elite swimmers. Tell me about what really drew you to Bob as a coach, and why you're particularly excited about this next phase of your career.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of great things about Bob, and I've heard wonderful things about him for many, many years. And my club coach has been a friend of his for a very long time. They know each other well. They agree on a lot of things on a lot of levels, swimming wise, when it comes to swimming. And, of course, it's really nice to know that he has a wonderful track record, with Michael Phelps. He's done very well with him, and he's done very well with a number of other athletes as well. And so ultimately what it boiled down to was just going back to what I said a little bit earlier, that his training style aligned pretty nicely with my club coach's training style. And I was like, I realize now this is what makes me tick. This is what I love. And I really just want to get back to more of that genre of training. And then for the cherry on top, just the weather out there is lovely. I love being tan year round, and I like getting out of the Minnesota coldness. So that was more of a surface level reason, but definitely important for me too.
Minnesota to Arizona seems like a weather upgrade to me. Nobody's going to argue with you there. So you shattered the women's 200 meter backstroke record at the age of 17. I mean, just an incredible performance. I'm so curious, when you think about the sport of swimming, or a sport like swimming, everything, like success couldn't be the difference between like a second or a millisecond here and there. Or how do you wrap your mind around, I'm doing all of this work to shave a second or a half a second? How do you get yourself energized? Because it's not just swimming or sport where that comes into play. So much of success, I find, is just making incremental improvements, little improvements, off of a foundation of existing success. I'm curious, talk about that for a minute. How do you get yourself really psyched up and focused on what's a very narrow goal?
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective you have. And I think since I've been a swimmer for so very long, I see like 2/10 of a second as like a lot, which is so funny because it isn't a lot. But in the sport of swimming, it's like it totally could be. It's the difference between first and seven in some places. So with that in mind, I've tried to get into that mentality and just being like, every single 100th matters, every single point of my body, and if it's in proper technique or not matters. And so when I go into training, yeah, the training sessions are very long and they all pool into something that is ultimately a very short race. But it's like there's so many different like little components of the race, and you can really hone in on those for a long time and get very good at those and practice and perfect those. And I love like walking into a meet and walking behind the blocks for a race and knowing like I have done absolutely everything in my power to prepare for this race and to prepare to execute as well as I can. And whatever happens is going to happen. But I want to walk away from this race knowing that I executed it very, very well. I took everything that I learned in practice and that I accomplished in practice, and I brought it into this race right here. So that's kind of my mentality towards it. But it's totally true. Yeah, those hundredths of a second, like it's nothing. Like it seems like dropping that much, you wouldn't really be that excited, or beating someone by that much, it wouldn't really be that exciting. But yeah, in the sport of swimming, those little things matter so much, which is it's really interesting.
I love focusing on the little things that make a big difference. And you talked about the little components, all the little components that you work on in practice. So for you, do you pick something really, really narrow and focus on that in practice and focus on that for days and weeks and hours? Or are you focusing on a lot of different things at the same time? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so sometimes I do. Like if there's something in my stroke that's really bothering me, like let's say I don't know, like my catch when I'm trying to pull the water on a stroke, like it isn't feeling as efficient as it could be. That could be something that, I spend a week focusing on, or I ask my coach, hey, will you please watch my catch at practice and tell me, what you think about it? Another example could be like if when I'm doing a race, sometimes, I can tend to kind of poop out at the end of a race. And when other people, aren't as tired as I am, they can kind of blow past me there in the last, 10 meters or something. And so then we can kind of, tweak my training plan a little bit, talk to my coach, be like, hey, like I'm kind of dying, getting tired here at the end of the race when other people aren't seeming to get as tired as I am. Like, how can we do this in practice? How can we train this? How can we get better at this? So that would be another example of that. But yeah, so sometimes it's communicating with my coach and them watching me or them tweaking practices or doing XYZ. And then other times just me in my head being like, okay, like I want to make sure that my catch looks a certain way or feels a certain way, or I want to make sure that I'm doing like X number of underwater dolphin kicks off every single turn, or I want to make sure that I'm hitting this stroke count on every single length of the pool. So yeah, it can be a bunch of different stuff. And sometimes I'm thinking about multiple things in one practice, and other days I'm definitely focusing in on one thing. It's definitely like every day is kind of different, but yeah, those are a few examples of things that I like to focus on with my coach.
How much of it comes down to whether you're feeling really confident in the moment or maybe less confident and momentum? Like how big can momentum be in your sport?
I think it can be really big. If you're riding a really nice wave, like you've been feeling good in practice for a long time. Maybe you had a meet in the middle of the season where you performed really well and that was a good confidence boost. I think it can be really, really easy to kind of ride that wave and perform really well, even if you're maybe not as prepared as you have been in another point in your life or your career, but maybe you weren't feeling as confident. So the mental side of things is so important. And I think, yeah, if you're riding a positive wave of energy and feeling good mentally and training well, I think things are really going to align nicely.
Talk for a minute about the mental side of it. You alluded to it earlier. I mean, you spent a lot of time, as you mentioned, focusing on the mental skills, the mental side of sport. And from having the opportunity to talk to so many Olympians and pro athletes and authors and musicians and CEOs, it's remarkable how the mental side of things has become so much more of a focus. And it's remarkable actually how long it's taken to become such a central focus in sport and in performance in general. What have you been focused on in particular from a mental skills perspective in order to go with obviously your elite physical athletic talent?
I'm absolutely a work in progress. So everything that I say, I'm definitely still working on. And some days are a lot harder than others. And I still walk in the meet sometimes and struggle a lot with confidence or things like that. So I'm definitely still currently and will continue to work on those things. But yeah, I'm really into positive self-talk before races. You have to be your own best friend in a sport like swimming in particular, because there's nobody that can talk to you during the race. It's just you and your own thoughts. And it's really easy for your mind to go to a really negative place really quickly, especially like if things start to hurt physically, like during the race, you get tired, people are maybe passing you, you're not in a spot you want to be during the race. It can be really easy to just want to give up really soon. So that's something that I've really stressed the importance of for many years, is just how important it is to be your own best friend during a race and just telling yourself that you can do it, that you've worked hard, that you're ready, that you're talented. And so, yeah, that's something that I focus on a lot. And when I'm really struggling with confidence in general, some other things I like to do, and it's awesome because I learned this from a meditation class that I took at Stanford this spring. I love that class. It was wonderful. And I just learned to bring things back to your breath. Whenever things get really difficult and you're feeling overwhelmed about something, you're just not feeling confident. It's just important to like breathe, bring yourself back to the moment that you're in. I can tend to kind of be a worrywart and ruminate about things that haven't even happened yet. And it's just important to realize like you can only control what's happening right now. So you just want to bring yourself back to the moment that you're in, the current breath that you're taking, and just not get too far ahead of yourself. And I find that has helped me a lot, because I always am worrying about trying to control the future, controlling what I literally just cannot control. And so bringing myself back to the present moment has been really helpful for me as well. And yeah, just talking to people as well. I started talking to a sports psychologist this year, and that's been really helpful for me just to kind of, get my thoughts out, have someone to talk to about it, have someone to give me really great advice about it too. That's been wonderful. And just talking to my friends and my parents as well. They've always been really supportive. It's just, it's great to have a really nice support group around you also, just to kind of bounce things off of you and keep you in a good space. So all of those things together are really very important. And even though I have all of those resources and all of those skills and techniques that I've kind of gathered over the years, I still definitely have a lot of moments where I struggle a lot. And so it's just a constant work in progress. But the thing I love the most about all of this is, like you said, more people are talking about it. And I feel like no matter what, it's always going to be slightly taboo. And I just applaud the people who don't care and are going to talk about it, and don't care if a few people aren't going to like what they have to say about mental health, and we'll call them weak, because in reality, they're not weak. They're very strong for being very open and candid about their struggles. And they're helping a lot more people than they're, offending or annoying or things like that. So I just really love that more and more people by the day are really coming forward and talking about their struggles. And yeah, it's great.
No question, Regan. I mean, it's fantastic to see the way the conversation has changed, I think, on those topics, and the way people like you are leading from the front and talking about the role that mental health and mental skills play in your extraordinary success to date. Let's keep moving forward to where we're headed next. Obviously, Paris 2024 is on your mind, and you've got 3 Olympic medals already in the drawer there. And I know you're not satisfied because you don't have that gold. I know you've talked about that publicly, that despite the extraordinary success that you've had, you want more. You always want more. So take me through kind of your roadmap between now and what hopes to be an appearance, and a fantastic appearance in Paris 2024. What are you looking at on the road ahead to get there?
Yeah. So after World Championships in June, at that point, we were exactly 2 years out from the qualification period for the Paris Games. And so I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to just take a nice long break, really reset and think some things through. Because in my case, I was trying to make my decision with whether I wanted to stay at Stanford or, just turn completely professionally and, look for some other options. And so that was a great chance to do that. I really just took some time off, and now I'm back and I'm training again, and I'm feeling more motivated than ever. And it's really crazy to think that we're already under 2 years away from the games, because I feel like I was just there. So it's just crazy how quickly time goes by. But looking ahead, I'm just really excited to get back to where I feel that I was a few years ago, like where I was when I broke my world records. That's something that I think about every single day. I miss that feeling of going a time and having a swim that you're extremely proud of, and you're just celebrating and feeling really great with it. I feel like I haven't had a swim like that in quite some time. So I think about that every single day in practice, and I'm excited, and I want to get stronger in the pool and out of the pool and weight training. And as for like specific training plans, I think that's something that I don't even know yet because I haven't gotten to Arizona yet, but I've had some conversations with Bob over the phone about what we're planning on doing. But I'm just really, really excited to get out there and get things started. But yeah, we're doing some of the prep work out here in Minnesota with my club coach. He's setting me up really well, I think. But generally, I'm just feeling really motivated, and I'm really excited to put a lot of good work in every single day. And I just think that's the key, is just being consistently feeling motivated and wanting to go to practice and work hard. So that's kind of where I'll be trying my best to keep my headspace in to have the best possible summer of 24 that I can.
Is there one or two things, Regan, when you think back on the experience in Tokyo, that you're particularly focused in on an area of growth or a renewed area of focus? Is there something that, one or two things that you want to go into Paris, hopefully, with come in a little stronger or with a different perspective or a different approach than in Tokyo?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing for me, and again, this is a work in progress because I've been saying this for a long time too, but whenever I'm like in a race or getting ready for a race, all I want is for it to be over because I'm feeling all these nerves, all this pressure, really nervous, just really looking forward to like the relief of when the race is finished. And it's an understandable feeling to have. And I think it's a common feeling for athletes to have, but it's not a feeling that I want to have. I want to go to a race, go to a meet and be really excited for every single race. And I know that nerves are very normal. And, I'm going to have them before every single race, but I really want to try my best to just harness those nerves and use them as fuel for excitement rather than like fear and like, oh, like, I just want this to be over. Like, I just want this feeling to go away. Because ultimately, like, I'm going to look back on these years when I'm like 40, 50, 60, et cetera, and just wish that I had lived in the moment more and not just wished for it to be over. Because these are going to be the glory days someday. And I don't want to wish this life away. So I just really want to try to really slow down and enjoy the races instead of just wishing them away. That's really what I want to change.
Again, just such a profound perspective, Regan. And I think it's a lesson that anyone listening, regardless of whether or not they've ever even been in a pool or engage in a sport, no matter the activity, no matter what you do, it's such an important principle for life that you described there. You're living the glory days that you're eventually going to look back on, right? And it's important to remember. I'm curious, how do you measure success? Is that something that you think about, or do you not even take a moment to think about what definition of success is?
No, that's a wonderful question, and that's funny. Another one of my classes at Stanford, I learned so many great things in my year there. I had a winter writing class, and that was a prompt that we spent an entire class period on. Like, what is your definition of success? And forever, I was just like, oh, it means like you have a good job, you're happy, you have a happy family, like you have all the things that you want, like blah, blah, blah. And it was so interesting to me to see like how many different perspectives that people have. Like everyone in my class had a different answer, which was so incredible to me. And it like really changed my perspective on things. And I really don't want my success to be measured by, how many gold medals I win or how much money I make from swimming or how many personal records I get. That's all very important to me because ultimately, like, I'm an athlete and I'm very competitive by nature. But, more than that, I just want to walk away from this sport and be in, not even in sports, but, any capacity of life and just feel content with it and be happy and be proud of where I am, no matter where it is, and just try my hardest every single day. And just never beat up too much on myself. I never want to think of myself as a failure because I know that I'm a hardworking person at heart and I'm always going to try my best and give it my all. And I may fall short sometimes, and that's just life. And so I think that success for me is just trying my best and feeling proud of where I end up.
Regan, have you wrapped your mind yet around the fact that you are a role model to so many, that young girls, young boys, people everywhere, grown adults, they look up to you and they say, what Regan has accomplished and what she continues to accomplish is so impressive. I know that you're always gracious with fans and followers, and if somebody comes up to you and asks you to sign a swimming cap, you're always happy to do it, or a kid asks you to take a picture. How have you kind of processed that aspect of all of this so far?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And that's something that I forget a lot. So like if I'm having a bad day, or maybe I'm having a bad meet or something, let's say, and I'm walking out of the pool and I'm feeling kind of down on myself, as you do, if you have a bad day or a bad race or whatever. And then someone will come up to me and they'll be so excited to meet me, be very kind, want to take a picture or get my autograph or something like that. And it's very humbling and it grounds me a lot. And I'm like, okay, let's just take a moment. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't have a great race today, but that person who wanted my autograph and a picture with me is still very proud of me and like still looks up to me and still, wants to be like me or something. And it's a very nice reminder that I should be proud of where I am and who I am, no matter what, and to always give back and to always be kind. And just, yeah, it's really special. It just reminds me that I want to be a good person and be nice to myself, because those people were always really nice to me, always very supportive of me. And it's cool also just because I know when I was younger, I would have killed to have someone treat me the way that I feel really lucky that I get to treat these people and to give back to them and to get an autograph. Because my parents weren't swimmers. And so I never really grew up going to swim meets or meeting swimming idols or anything like that. So I know that would have been really important to me as a young swimmer. So it's really cool now to kind of turn around and give back. And then what you said at the end there, it's really, really cool that some adults look up to me as well. Like that's really cool to me, because sometimes I don't even feel like I'm an adult yet. I know I'm 20, so I am technically, but it's always really wonderful when adults will come up to me as well. It's very special just to know that someone who's in a completely different point at their life than I am, and that, most young children swimmers are, and they still look up to me and find inspiration from me. Again, it's just very humbling, and I always enjoy those interactions so much. And again, it just reminds me that it's really important to be a good person above all, and just have good, meaningful, and kind interactions with people who I come across.
Well, Regan, I'm so impressed by you. I've admired your career from afar, and I'm just so impressed, with the way you approach things, the way you go about your business. And I still think the best is yet to come for Regan Smith. But I'm curious, I want to wrap up with a question. If you weren't one of the world's best swimmers, what do you think you'd be doing?
That's a really great question. Oh gosh, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, especially this year at college. And I learned like how much of a homebody I am. And so I really think like I would want to be living, honestly, kind of a quiet life. Like I love being at home and cooking meals with my family. And I love taking my dogs for walks. And I love just spending time with the people who I love. And so specifically, I don't know, like career wise, what I would be doing, but I think that I would be like soaking up every single moment that I could with my family and my friends at home. Because before I moved across the country to college, I was really excited and ready to move on. I was nervous, of course, but what I learned at college is how important and special home is to me. And so I think if I could have it my way, I think that I would be here doing something else. I don't know exactly what, but yeah, I think I would be doing something at home close to my loved ones.
Well, keep soaking it all in, Regan, and keep up the great work. We're going to be rooting for you as we get closer to the summer of 2024 in Paris. And I believe the best is yet to come, despite all of your incredible success. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me, and keep pulling the tarp. All right, Regan?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me. You've been wonderful, and I appreciate all of your kind words.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you are like me and want a world full of tarp pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Twitter at Andrew H. Moses. That's Andrew H. Moses. And be sure to sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Today is a great day to pull the tarp. I am rooting for you. See you next time.